boy, do I have some Reddit stories for you guys. Today we are doing Reddit stories, Family Feud edition. So all of the stories I've selected are family oriented, but I should probably introduce myself first. Welcome back to my living room. My name is Erin. I'm a therapist and I love analyzing all things pop culture. And like I said, today we are back with another Reddit video. Per usual, I feel the need to introduce my cats because usually at some point in time, they find their way into the video, either on my lap or in their little basket. So Sage and Sorrel will probably be joining us today, and if you see them, that's who they are. Look at that. Sorrel's already making an appearance within 30 seconds of filming. I am feeling so much better today. I feel like I have so much more energy than I have the past 2 weeks, just recovering from norovirus with my husband. That is straight the virus of the spawn of Satan, and I hope that none of you ever have to experience it. And if you have experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. So I finally feel like I'm getting back on my feet and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I can think more clearly, that I can actually digest food again, which is very nice. So I'm excited to be here. I hope you're ready. So buckle up. Let's get into it without further delay. All right. Am I the asshole for telling my brother everyone dislikes the woman he's about to propose to? Good start. Okay. My brother is planning to propose in 3 weeks, but in the last year, he has managed to ruin his relationship with our mother, myself, and all of our closest friends. These are all because of her. Whether it's her telling him he's entitled to money, telling him he cannot go to friends' events because of things she needs or wants to do that often don't even involve him, and even completely changing his belief system and ability to handle stressful situations. He crashes out every time something happens that does not go directly to his idea of a plan, insults and behaves poorly to everyone involved, never apologizes, and stops talking to people altogether for relatively little things. Okay, so already sounds like this woman is impacting his ability to self-regulate. His friends have all come to me to ask what's going on and why he is acting like this and why he has changed so much, as well as to vent and make me aware of their experience with him acting in similar ways and sharing very similar concerns about how his partner affects him. She's always been very rude to me and makes it clear she does not like me and has completely turned him against our mother to the point that my brother won't even communicate with our mom. It's tearing her life apart. She can't sleep. It's affecting her work and relationship, all because he won't talk to her after she bought a house, after never having one, instead of paying for his college. Interesting. So she's kind of wedging the family against him and potentially isolating him. We grew up poor, so where the sense of entitlement comes from is a mystery, probably his partner. My father and stepmother are completely on his side and would pretty much do anything to defend both my brother and his partner, which makes me feel like I'm the mediator of 3 different parties: mother's, friend, dad, and stepmom. Trying to mitigate and have answers for intense heartbreak, genuine concern, and overprotection, respectively. Okay, this poor person. She definitely is in the middle of all of this. I know I need to talk to him. Oh, Sage. Come here. Come sit with me. Okay, see you later. Okay. I know I need to talk to him, but I'm not sure how to approach one. Nevertheless, all issues without him freaking out and cutting me off as well. Despite not liking his girlfriend or future fiance, and despite severely disapproving of what I feel like to be childlike and disrespectful behavior, I do love him and he is my brother and we have always been very close. I know even with carefully crafting a calm argument, doing everything I can to avoid sounding like I am insulting or accusing either of them, he will still more than likely hate me and start freaking out over it. Am I the asshole for wanting to show up at his door and force him to talk about this with me? Am I the asshole for feeling like it's my responsibility to essentially bomb drop how everyone in his life is concerned and heartbroken about his behavior and primarily blames it on his girlfriend and the way she has sheltered and changed him so drastically? He's proposing in 3 weeks and almost everyone in his life who loves and cares for and has known him for a significant amount of time disapproves of her and his behavior, but I'm supposed to be the messenger for all of it right before he proposes? There isn't a too long didn't read, but my too long didn't read of this version is my brother's fiance is a terror and is changing his behavior. Nobody likes her. Am I supposed to say something? Okay, initial reaction off the bat is she's not the asshole. She claims that her and her brother are very close, and because of that closeness, I think she is entitled to say something to him. Brother-sister bonds, or really sibling bonds, offer a very, very unique relationship that is really fun to have. I have 3 siblings and I know what it's like to trust and care for them. And so I completely understand her perspective of wanting to confront him and being like, this path for you, all of us see that it's not healthy. Now, my guidance to her would probably say you can only speak to what you know and you see. It gets really muddied as soon as you start bringing other people's opinions and what they see, and then he's going to feel ganged up on, even if it's only her confronting him. He will feel ganged up on if she says nobody likes her. That's going to just immediately shut down the conversation and immediately make him defensive. He's already going to be defensive in this conversation, but that will make the conversation just die. This is not an example of a loving sibling bond right now. They have been, oh my goodness, girls. It can be really difficult when an individual gets into a really intimate relationship and they start to become consumed with that person. I'm wondering what's going on her end, if she's potentially love bombing him or what other manipulations she's saying to him, because it's clear that she is manipulating him. The fact that he never had a problem with his mom selling or buying a house and not paying for his college. And then I think it sounds like the girlfriend came in and started insinuating, you don't feel angry about that? You should really be upset about that. Like, how dare your mom do that? And so like it ignited some righteous indignation in him that maybe wasn't even there before. I think the biggest red flag I see in this is the manipulation and isolation that the girlfriend is putting him through. Let's take into account this guy, his regulation is off, he's snippy at people, he's not really apologizing. The bigger issue is that if they're not even married yet, they're not even engaged yet, and already she has managed to turn him against his mom and isolate him away from his friends. It's only going to escalate from there. This is the beginning stages of the relationship, and he is already head over heels following everything she says. So that also makes me question what type of attachment style he had going into the relationship. It sounds like maybe anxious if he's trying to constantly appease her. And probably that means that he has low self-esteem, the fact that he thinks that this is an acceptable form of treatment to accept. I think she can take herself out of the middle of all of those relationships by not speaking on behalf of them. Yes, he's not talking to the mom, but again, it is the mom's responsibility to try and re-engage that relationship. Here's Sorrel. Hi, sweet girl. Are you okay? Her and Sage got into a fight. Part of also her ability to get out of the middle of all of this is to not speak on behalf of all those other people. Mom is the only one that I could maybe see her saying something about because he's refusing to talk to her. But these other relationships, they're adults. They have the ability to go to the brother and say, we see this thing, we're concerned, what's going on, including his friends. And what's more powerful than her simply telling him, hey, everybody's saying this, is each of those individuals going to him and saying, we see this, I'm concerned about this, this has been my experience with you since you've been dating her. That has to get his attention. And if he chooses to ignore multiple people and multiple warning signs, that's on him. Unfortunately, that happens a lot. People are more comfortable with the idea of accepting treatment they don't deserve than being alone. All right, that's my short, quick opinion. Let's read some comments. Top comment, not the asshole. I understand what you're saying because I feel like I could have written a similar post. Ultimately, I think it's important to reframe the conversation with him. Talk about the facts and approach with questioning to better understand his perspective, not the idea that you'll tell him everyone dislikes his girlfriend. They list some bullet points. Loving him above all else, observation of distancing from mom when she bought her own place, feeling hurt from the distance, noticing his outbursts recently, etc. I don't think you necessarily need to talk on behalf of others who have issues with the girlfriend. Agreed. I've reflected a lot with my own brother and wonder if at times it is not the girlfriend, but actually the girlfriend unlocking inside potentially negative traits that were always there. It's a bit sad, but I think I realized recently that maybe the man I thought my brother wasn't right. I realized my bro is his own person and he's opting in. In some ways, I would have loved if he fell in love with someone that ultimately encouraged him to grow better and in a better way. But the reality is he chose and fell in love with this other person. Both of them have become more selfish because she is, and neither have a growth mindset. I think you need to consider what you want from this conversation. Perhaps you want to clear the air to improve your relationship with him and better understand his perspective. Don't go in trying to break the relationship. Go in with an open mind and understand his viewpoint. Respect his feelings too. I don't think it hurts to mention your observation about his emotional instability. I also don't think it hurts to mention how he shouldn't have necessarily felt entitled either, but empathize with how hard it is. Did you have your college paid for and he didn't? I actually wouldn't put blame on the girlfriend, but more so just approach it as a big sis talking to her younger sibling. Good luck. That's one of the more rational comments I've read on a Reddit post recently. Yeah, that's it. Basically, he's reflecting how a therapy session works, where somebody presents an issue, you non-judgmentally ask questions to understand its entirety, understand feelings on both sides and what motivations may be, and then you help the individual come to a conclusion. So I think his model is really healthy, and I agree with him that asking questions will put him less on the defensive and more open-minded. So I think that there's an ability here for her to go in and have a potentially good conversation. It obviously depends on how he wants to react, and she has to pick her timing too. I always tell my clients that timing is everything if you're going to confront somebody about something. Another comment. Not the asshole. My ex-wife was a clinically diagnosed narcissist and borderline personality disorder. Divorced after we separated. That is a wild combo. I was too love bomb and caught up in the vicious cycle to see what was happening. I was very young and dumb and let her manipulate and control me. She ultimately ended up having an affair, and not long after we were married. I say all this only because my entire family and friends told me after the fact that they didn't like her at all. I just wish someone I was close to had told me. Just express your concerns from a place of genuine concern and leave it at that. And understand it might not go well. I would phrase it gently to make sure he doesn't feel attacked. Oh, okay. I agree with this in the sense that if you see something and you're close enough with a person to be concerned, then you have a place to say something. And if they're going to react and say, this isn't your place to say something, okay. You know that you did what you could. You spoke truth and you tried to help them see a new perspective. And if they're not ready for that and they can't do that, that's out of your control, and that's okay. Your only responsibility in that is to deliver your concern in a constructive way. Third comment, we'll read one more. You're the asshole. Then he's quoting her, the way she changed him. I think the way you're framing your brother, like he has no control over his own life, is pretty ridiculous. He's an adult capable of making his own choices. Yeah, of course. Of course he is. But also, how do you think people join cults then? All of them are adults capable of making their own decisions. And you'd think, oh, well, if you're smart, this is like victim blaming, essentially. If you're smart, then you won't join a cult. That's not true. Plenty of intelligent people have joined cults. There's just so much emotional manipulation. There's the charisma from the leader. There's the sense of belonging. There's so many reasons that people do things that rationally, normally, they would not engage in. So this is a stupid comment, and I disagree with it. All right, let's move on to another story. Next story. Am I the asshole for telling my husband he would be responsible for his daughter from now on? Interesting. Okay. I will say at the top here it says the consensus is not enough information. So my stepdaughter is about to be 13 years old. She has primarily lived with us since she has been 5.5. Over the years, I have loved her and treated her like she was my own daughter. Even after having kids of my own, I never treated her differently, and I'd like to note that she is starting therapy next week. Over the last year, she has started becoming a habitual liar. She lies about stupid and big stuff. Examples of things she's lied about: feeding the dog, who she's talking to, where she's met people, if she did her chores, crushes at her school. She's even made completely made up situations like being kissed, asked out, getting in fights. All things we have caught her lying about, and she will continue to lie to us until the proof is in her face. The biggest thing is in early December, she took my little one downstairs and offered to watch him and my 2 younger ones while I slept in a little in the morning. I work night and my husband was at work. She asked what time I was getting up and I told her 9 a.m., which was in like 30 minutes. I wake up and she was gone. Her and her dog were gone. My 6-month-old was in his bouncer crying, and my daughter, 6 years old, got dish soap and smeared it all over the bathroom and then locked herself in there when she heard me coming. My son, 4 years old, said she took the dog for a walk. She has no cell phone. I got the situation at home taken care of and she still wasn't home. I realized it's been an hour and I go out and I start looking for her. We live in a small town. I searched for 3 hours. My husband finally leaves work in a panic and we search and call the police. A search and rescue dog finally found her. It took us 6 hours to finally find her. She, to this day, won't tell us where she was at. Fast forward to today. She said that her stomach had been hurting for 2 days. She'd thrown up once and had diarrhea, none of which happened while my husband and I were around. I just got over a cold, sinus infection, stomach bug, and kidney infection. So I feel bad, and I take her to the pediatric quick care. On the way there, I tell her if she's faking, just to tell me so I don't waste my time and gas to drive her. It's my last day before I have to go back to work, and I need to get some things done. She tells me no, she really is in pain. She tells the doctor the same. But in the waiting, she is laughing and talking normal. That doc sends us to the ER because of how much pain she's in. Now in the ER and ruled out appendicitis, and again laughing and talking just fine, and come to find out she has been exaggerating, that's in all caps, how much pain she's in, and I'm stuck waiting for results. My husband can't switch me because he has no gas, and we had to drive 30 minutes into town to come to the doctor. I'm so mad. I told my husband he can deal with everything with her from now on. All discipline, appointments, parent-teacher conferences, everything. He thinks I'm overwhelmed and going too far. I married him and she was part of the package. So am I the asshole for telling him this? Okay, this seems initially off the bat, my reaction is like, this seems like an overreaction. This seems like a reaction to feeling frustrated for a long amount of time and just feeling done with it. That I get. If his kid was like 17, almost 18, I think, okay, appropriate. That kid is very close to being a legal adult, or they are a legal adult, and so it's appropriate developmentally for you to let go and let them fail in the way that they need to in order to learn the lessons they need to move forward. However, this kid is 13 years old. 13. That puts her in middle school, so probably 8th grade. Maybe 7th if she just turned 13, but most likely she's in 8th grade. That's young. That is developmentally an age where you're going to still need a lot of support from parents. I definitely empathize with her in the sense that her kids were left alone at home when the daughter was supposed to be watching them. That would severely piss me off if I were a mom and I had 3 kids at home and all of a sudden nobody's watching him. That's super scary. So I think on some level this just hit primal instinct of like, biologically those kids are hers. So she feels this intense and almost indescribable need to protect them. And biologically that means she's going to cut out the stepdaughter because she isn't biologically connected to her. That's just the way developmental evolution works. I wonder if there's a compromise though in this of dad needing to take more of the reins. It sounds like maybe she's doing all the primary things, like taking her to appointments, parent-teacher conferences. And so maybe the compromise in this is like, as her dad, her biological dad, you need to be taking more ownership in this relationship. I am still there for you. I'm still going to support you as needed, but I feel inundated by this and I still have 3 other kids, let alone young kids, to take care of. The therapist in me is extremely concerned that this kid has been abused or has some sort of trauma. My reason for stating this is the kid went from not being a chronic liar to all of a sudden lying about everything. Lying in children is a really strong sign of trauma. More specifically, I had an adolescent client that I was curious if she had dissociative identity disorder because it frequently seemed like she was lying about things. And so I did this deep dive into the presentation of dissociative identity disorder in adolescents because I wanted to understand more fully and also make sure that I was analyzing things correctly and offering a real diagnosis if I felt like it was clinically appropriate to tell her the diagnosis. That being said, one of the things that's super prevalent in dissociative identity disorder presentation in adolescents is the appearance of lying. The thing is, it's not actually lying. What happens is somebody that has DID, they have alters. It used to be called multiple personality disorder. They changed it to dissociative identity disorder. So you have these alters that you're dissociating into. So sometimes the alters are connected, sometimes they're not. So what might happen is if an individual has one alter, maybe it's an alter where it gets triggered because she walks the dog. And so she comes back, and when she enters the home, she's triggered into another alter, and all of a sudden she has no recollection of walking the dog. So she tells her mom, no, I didn't walk the dog. Mom sees her literally just come back from walking the dog. And she's like, I'm not lying. I didn't walk the dog. And her mom's probably like, what? So I'm actually wondering if, and this is obviously very little information to go off of, but as a therapist, I'd just be curious, because lying substantially is not a normal thing for adolescent and teenagers. Lying some, of course, all teenagers lie, all children lie, of course, but to be to this extent where they're lying over silly things, also there is a little bit of truth in all of these lies. So I'd be curious, like, what is true? She's saying, like, I kissed somebody. It's like, is there some inappropriate relationship happening that you need to be concerned about? I don't know. Also, her lying about where she was going for hours. Does she actually not remember? And that's super concerning, because that's also a problem with dissociative identity disorder, is not having a recollection of large amounts of time. And so you're not sure what's going on or where you were, or you're putting yourself at risk in all of these ways. So I'm just concerned for her in that way. And so that is the invitation that I would bring to the mom. Is I'm very glad at the top it says she's starting therapy this week, because this girl needs therapy. Something's wrong. Something happened. I don't know what. That's what my gut tells me. And obviously we don't have a lot of information. So I can't just sit here and say, this girl for sure has dissociative identity disorder. Like, that's not therapeutically appropriate. I just think that's something I would be thinking through. Let's read some comments. Missing 6 hours is not normal, especially with the police involved. Did they question or talk to her? Sounds like a cry for attention. It's her dad's job to address it. You're a stepmom in this stage of her life. Love her, support her, but take a step back and protect your kids. OP actually responded to this, said, yes, we asked her and talked to her, and she shut down and won't speak of where she was at. She keeps telling us that she was somewhere that we looked 3 different times and said she was there the entire 6 hours. Interesting. Yeah, that's obvious. It's not normal that she was missing for 6 hours and they can't figure out where she was. Goes back to my original point of thinking maybe there's something going on with DID or some other form of trauma is why she's lying. Especially, this is also what I did not mention. I said at the beginning she's 13, she's super young, but her identity formation is in full force. When you're turning 11, 12, up until, you're 25, you're forming this identity of who you want to be and who you think you truly are. Identity formation is a lifelong process, but it's super definitive during your teenage into your early 20s. And so her potentially having some sort of trauma at this very important age is, I think, partly why she might be lying, is she cannot comprehend her worldview right now. She cannot comprehend what is safe, what is not, because of this trauma paired with this identity formation. She's feeling super lost, is my guess. Or it could be off base about all of this and she's just chronically lying because she wants attention. I mean, that's totally plausible too. Let's read another comment. The whole gone missing for 6 hours thing is very weird. It has me thinking that she maybe went to someone's house, like an adult, and is in some sort of relationship with someone, especially since she won't tell you where she was. I wonder if she's being abused, and that's where this change of behavior came from. Kids never, and I repeat, never just suddenly change like that without a reason. There's always a reason something bad is going on. She needs help. I totally agree with this. Kids do not just change for no reason at all. I completely agree with that. Developmentally, everything I know about psychology, that proves to be true. That's a really interesting thought. I actually did not think about like her spending time at somebody's house. That's completely plausible in all of this. OP did not respond to that one. Let's read a third. Info: how present is your husband in the household and how much does he contribute to raising the kids? OP did respond to this one. Dad's here, but not emotionally. He got fired from his job for going to look for her when she went missing. Our schedules were opposite, so we didn't have to use childcare, so he was here in the evening time when I had to go to work. Now he's at home looking for work. That's interesting. I'm not saying this isn't true, but that makes me wonder, because I think it's significant that he was gone for the day and then got fired for that. Like, could he have taken a personal day or a sick day? Maybe he had enough missteps at whatever company he was working at that this was a fireable offense. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not true, but it feels a little off-putting to me. All right, well, with this one, I think there's not really an update or resolution, so I'm curious whatever will come of that. It was posted 3 weeks ago, so I don't think we're going to get an update, but hopefully they can find some resolution to that one. Let's take a coffee break. Mid-Reddit story coffee break. This coffee break is brought to you by this kick-ass mug that I found at the thrift store. I am drinking, yet again, plain cold brew. Actually, it's not plain. I put a little bit of cream in it, which is not normal for me, but this is like one of my first introductions back into coffee since having norovirus, which has been hard, to say the least, to not have coffee the past 2 weeks. So I tried to drink it for my last video and it just did not end well, but I do it for you guys and for myself because I love coffee. Look at this mug. Moving on. I bought these pants at the thrift store and my husband literally goes, "Don't spill coffee on them," because he knows I spill my coffee everywhere, which I just spilled on my leather couch. Ugh. Okay, next story. Am I the asshole for not telling my uncles we won't inherit anything? This one's short and sweet. Hi, Sage. Before my 18 male grandma passed away, she had an arrangement. She gave me money to buy horror novels and I read them to her twice a week. We spent a fair amount of time together. Okay, first off, that's so sweet that like his little old grandma loves scary novels and he gets to read them to her. I hope that, oh my gosh, I can just envision me being a little old granny and my grandkids reading to me. Oh my God. Okay. During one of our last sessions, she confided in me that she wanted to leave all her money to charities, but decided to leave a college fund for my cousin, 16 female, since Uncle Henry lost a massive amount of part of his savings through gambling. The guy thought he could recover all that he lost by making a big bet on the Mike Tyson, but then Jake Paul won, so he ended up losing even more. My husband and I watched that fight. It was the best pop culture moment ever to come out of that fight, and I'm going to put it on the screen now.
Thank you, Dad. Love you. Love you too.
Okay, sorry, back to the story. Grandma asked me not to tell anyone about this, and I didn't. I kept my mouth shut. When my dad and uncles found out, they reacted in different ways. Dad wasn't really that surprised since Grandma was rather charitable, especially in her later years. Uncle Henry was grateful for the fund, but Uncle John was quite upset, saying that she's their mom and she should have left them something. All three of them got suspicious and asked me if Grandma told me anything during one of my many afternoons I spent at her place. I admitted that I knew about it, and Uncle John said I should have told them first instead of letting them find out this way. That it wouldn't hurt so much if he had time to prepare instead of being caught off guard. Okay, first reaction. That's so obvious that Uncle John didn't want more time to be prepared and not be blindsided. He's trying to get money from his mom. I mean, come on. Like, I don't know how much money this lady had. I mean, enough to leave some for the cousin to go to college, which could be a pretty significant amount depending on where she wants to go to college. But that's pretty obvious that that was some form of manipulation. I don't think it's wrong that she didn't tell them. I mean, it's not really her responsibility to tell them. Like, nobody's in danger. Nobody's unsafe. And it was ultimately Grandma's decision to divvy up her money how she sees fit. So this one's really simple and sweet, but no, I don't think that she's the asshole. Let's read comments. This is top comment. Not the asshole. You had private bonding time with your grandma and she told you about a decision that she made. You did not have to spill it to anyone else. In fact, it would have been chaos to spill it. Uncle John didn't want time to be surprised and processed He wanted time to go to his mother and pressure her in her dying days to give him money. I bet he wouldn't have even tried to get your dad or the other uncle a cut. He just wanted it. He would have caused a huge family rift as your grandma was dying and taken away her peace. So you not starting that off means you're not the asshole. I mean, I agree with this comment that like she didn't need to say anything, but it's also very theoretical to say like he only wanted it for himself. This would have caused a huge rift. He would have manipulated her as she's dying. It's like we literally don't have any evidence for that. And I think Reddit tends to believe the worst in people, so I get it, but ultimately I think that's a little harsh. Next comment, not the asshole. This person's quoting, Uncle John said I should have told them first instead of letting them find out this way, that it wouldn't hurt so much if he had time to prepare. The commenter is now rephrasing this. I could have bullied her into changing her mind if you'd told me about it while she was alive. She knew what she was doing when she asked you not to say anything. That's probably true. Not the asshole. Uncle John probably wanted to know so that he could have fully tricked Grandma. I think it's supposed to be tricked. It says tripped. Grandma into changing her will. You were told something in confidence and respected the clearly stated wishes. You 100% did the right thing. I'm glad this one has some strong consensus behind it. Pretty simple. Inheritances get real messy real quick. Let's move on to another story. I think this might be the last one for today. Okay, this is kind of a funny one. Am I the asshole for dipping lasagna into hot sauce? I, 20 female, love hot sauce and I put it on most things. I live with my husband, 22 male. For the first couple of days, his mother has been in the area, and yesterday she asked if she could come around and cook for us before heading home. Since neither of us were working, we agreed and offered to help her so we can all cook and eat together and it's less work for her. She refused, and she said that she wanted to do something nice for us and also refused us helping with the cost. She went grocery shopping specifically for this. Anyway, she arrives early in the day and spends 8 hours on making lasagna. Not all of this was active cooking time. Most was just the meat sauce simmering. But even then, she was saying how she wished she had overnight. We have an apartment and there wouldn't be room for her to stay overnight. I am grateful for the time she spent and thanked her multiple times, although her coming around for such a long period was more than we had discussed and did mean that we had to reschedule some plans we had made earlier that day. It comes time to eat and we have the lasagna and roast potatoes. This is when the problem started. We keep condiments in the middle of the table and I put some hot sauce on my plate. Dip a potato in, dip the lasagna in, make eye contact with my mother-in-law, and she looks at me like I'm eating a human baby. Puts down her plate, pushes it away, and begins getting ready to leave. I ask her what's wrong, and she tells me that she has, quote unquote, never been so disrespected before by any of my son's women. And that she spent 8 hours just slaving away just for you to ruin it with that crap. My husband did defend me, but my mother-in-law has begun a narrative in the family that I'm ungrateful. I'm not sure if what I did was actually wrong or not. Am I the asshole? Man, you never know what it's going to be when it comes to family. Who knew this time it was going to be the hot sauce? This is so tricky because I think in one sense, you need to make your food palatable to you in order to eat, and I think that's okay. On the other hand, I understand how someone can be insulted when somebody changes their food. I don't know, there's no context if she just automatically put hot sauce on before even trying the food, which I think is a bit of a faux pas, like at least try it a little bit. I don't know, it doesn't say. Part of me leaves just being like, everybody here is just overreacting. Like, it sounds like she's annoyed that her mom was there all day, or her mother-in-law, I should say. And it sounds like mother-in-law is annoyed that it took so long to make the lasagna. And I think mother-in-law's reaction is an overreaction for sure. Because instead of her saying like, I slaved away in the kitchen and I have never been so disrespected before. You're living a pretty cush life if you're offended by somebody putting hot sauce on lasagna. Good for you that you've never been so disrespected before this time in your life. So mother-in-law could have said, hey, can I ask why you're putting hot sauce on that? I worked really hard on this meal, and when you put hot sauce on food, it makes me feel like my food isn't good enough for you. How crazy would that be to emotionally communicate your feelings and needs to another person? I can see that the daughter-in-law is frustrated having to reschedule her plans for her mother-in-law being there. And it sounds like mother-in-law was in the area and had traveled there. So I think there is some obligation to see her. So I get feeling like caught between a rock and a hard place. Maybe just everyone here sucks. Like, maybe she should have communicated that she wants hot sauce on her food. Maybe mother-in-law didn't need to overreact the way she did. I don't know. This one's so silly. This is so silly. But what a good problem to have. At least, like, her husband's not cheating on her with, her best friend. Some of these Reddit stories. Let's read some comments. I get it. I'm married to a hot saucer. I like that. Hot saucer. Okay. But it sucks when you work hard on a dish and they immediately dump a bunch of hot sauce on it. It's like they're saying, here, fixed it. And I love hot sauce, but when you use a lot of it, that's all you taste. Everyone sucks here. Sounds like you don't want her cooking for you anyway, so job well done, I guess. That was sassy. Also, eating that much sauce means that you're ingesting a ton of sodium. Never did I think I was going to get a health tip in this. Okay, I guess that's a fair concern. Probably the least of their concerns. Yeah, I'm not a hot saucer. I like hot sauce and I put it on things like burritos or appropriate foods, but I've never been a person that I just like dump it on everything I eat. I've never understood that. So if you're a hot saucer, comment the psychology of that, because I don't get it. I wonder if like her taste buds don't work as well as other taste buds. I don't know. I'm so curious about it. But I also argue at this point of like, I don't know, because it's like, if you eat something, you put salt and pepper on it. Is that insulting to the person? Like, this is such a weird, nuanced thing. I don't know quite where I stand on this one. Let's read another comment. I'm sorry. I had a hard time getting past potatoes on the table at the same time as lasagna. Great point. I didn't even notice that. Why are there potatoes if she's making lasagna? Like, lasagna is the dish. It's already carb loaded. Why even make potato? Those don't go together. That is so weird. Okay, another comment. What the F? This is sacrilege. You're the asshole. Hot sauce does not belong on lasagna. You should be taken to the Coliseum and fed to the lions. This person really cares about lasagna. Actually, fun fact, lasagna is my favorite food of all time, hands down. I could eat lasagna for the rest of my life. And I don't even feel that passionately that hot sauce doesn't belong on lasagna. I'm like, if you want to put hot sauce on your lasagna, have at it. Like, I always say to people, don't yuck somebody else's yum. What's the point? And I get there's like a little bit of layers here of like her mother-in-law spent a lot of time making this, like yada, yada, yada. But this commenter is mean and I disagree with them. Okay, last comment. I feel like we need a bit more context first. Did you even taste the food? Oh, that's what I said. Before dipping it in the hot sauce. If not, this may be a test by the mother-in-law. Ever heard the old story of a man who owned his business using soup as a means of judging character when hiring someone? He'd buy them soup and he'd wait to see if they put salt in the soup before tasting it. And if they did, he did not hire them. That's interesting. I mean, I don't think it was a test by the mother-in-law. That's kind of a ridiculous and crazy test. Like, and maybe even like, I wonder if she knew how much she liked hot sauce. Like, this is assuming, okay, so they're married. So her mother-in-law definitely knows her or should know her. I'm assuming they've shared meals together and it's come up that she loves hot sauce. Maybe the mother-in-law just hates the fact that she likes hot sauce so much. And maybe that's the conspiracy here. I don't know. Never in my life did I think I'd be talking so much about hot sauce and lasagna on one of my videos. This reminds me of the soup Nazi too.
No soup for you!
Those are all the Family Feud stories I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed these Family Feud stories as much as I did. I had some lighthearted ones, some interesting ones in there. We got a good range today. If you disagreed with any of my takes, comment. I really appreciate all the support that my Severance video got. I said that in my last video as well, but again, I'm just really appreciative. Sorrel and Sage have made up. It's okay. They're loving each other again and they're being kind to each other. So all of you cat lovers who are worried about them, they're fine. Next video will be out next week. I'm trying to post videos weekly. I don't have a set day yet that I am posting them, but I'm trying to make sure they get out weekly. I, as you know, still have a full-time job outside of this, so I am grinding away at YouTube. I really, really appreciate all your support. Thank you so much for commenting, for subscribing, for all the watch hours. I am so grateful. And I'm really enjoying doing this. So thanks for coming along with me. And I hope you have a lovely, wonderful, fun weekend. Bye.